Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Denmark Aranas, a postgraduate medical intern. I basically provide informative videos to medical students. And also, I would like to give aspiring Filipino physicians an idea of what a med student usually tackle in med school. If you find these videos helpful, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to be updated for my new videos that I'll be uploading every week. For today, I'll be discussing the clinicopathologic correlation of cardiogenic shock. The clinical definition of this is the decreased cardiac output evidenced by tissue hypoxia in the presence of, adequate intravascular volume. It is the leading cause of death in acute myocardial infarction, with mortality rate as high as 70 to 90% if left untreated without an aggressive and highly experienced technical care. This is a very important for us topic for us to discuss because it is the most common cause of mortality in the ER. I would like to shout out to Redcel Mark Pascual for helping me out in creating this CPC. We'll be discussing each of these sections one by one. So let's start. Here are the important risk factors that we have to consider in patients with cardiogenic shock: the advanced age, history of heart disease, obesity, uncontrolled diabetes, and chronic hypertension. Okay? Comorbidities really play a big part in acquiring such condition. This would lead to endothelial dysfunction, and that would trigger also to affects the dysfunction of cardiac myocytes and the macrophage and smooth muscle activation. Let's first discuss the dysfunction in the cardiac myocytes. So that would lead to a decreased cardiac output, and that would produce three results: the activation of sympathetic nervous system that would lead to the peripheral vasoconstriction. So that would be manifested by our patient as having cold, clammy skin and tachycardia. Okay. And then from the decreased cardiac output, there could also be right ventricular dysfunction, which would cause the increase in systemic venous congestion. So that would be manifested as difficulty of breathing, RALS, and increased jugular venous pressure in our patient. And last effect of decreased cardiac output would be left ventricular dysfunction. This would decrease the stroke volume as the systolic dysfunction occurs, and also it could lead to pulmonary congestion with the diastolic dysfunction. It would be manifested as the decrease in BP and also um, tachypnea and the hypoxemia in our patient. So combining all of these mechanisms, it would lead to congestive heart failure. The next, as for the macrophage and smooth muscle activation, they would engulf the lipids, and the lipids now would be accumulating in the blood vessels, coronary blood vessels, and that would cause a plaque formation until to the point that it would rupture. Plaque rupture would occur, and the thrombus from that rupture would block the coronary uh, arteries, and that would lead to a decreased oxygenation of the uh, myocardium, and that would lead to acute coronary syndrome. This is a uh, umbrella term for myocardial ischemia, non-ST segment uh, elevation MI, and ST segment elevation MI. And under acute coronary syndrome would be the common manifestation of chest pain. Now, if uh, the patient would be left untreated or poorly managed, the congestive heart failure and the acute coronary syndrome would lead to progressive myocardial dysfunction, hence causing now the cardiogenic shock. Okay. Here is the reference of my discussion, the 20th edition, Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine. I would like to end my discussion by leaving you a message. To the great teachers that inspire, we owe you our success. Thank you for listening and have a great day.